what we've done is, we talked to a lot of different companies, Kristen and I, about, their approach to managing the use of AI. And through those discussions, we've identified, kind of four key phases to building out an AI risk governance program. A number of companies are, still figuring that out. And what we've learned through our conversations is that typically you may start with understanding what the different regulatory frameworks or requirements are, figuring out what your approach is and what you need to build out your governance program. But also in parallel, because these things don't necessarily happen in a, step one, step two, you may be doing multiple things in parallel. You're also probably thinking about like where you may have AI risk, starting to identify how and where AI is being used within your organization. And notice I didn't say if, but how. And this is because a number of commonly used, third-party services, as I mentioned earlier, are integrating AI into their solutions, which is why it's important to identify how AI is being used and what the risks are. And then once you've identified where you have AI risks, assess, the controls that you have in place that align with the principles and the requirements that you're assessing against, and addressing any areas that require improvement. Then, that last piece of communicating both to internal and external stakeholders via third-party certification that you have responsible use of AI practices are in place. So that's kind of final step. And though, this phased approach enables you to start your AI risk governance journey at any point. And this is designed to be flexible to meet you where you are. So, for example, one company I spoke with a few weeks ago, they're focused on understanding their AI risk and assessing the controls that they have in place to manage that. Others may leverage that certification review process as a starting point to determine what they need to do to set up their AI risk governance. Because certification standards are a great set of principles that will help you towards your compliance as well as putting a responsible program in place. And no matter where you're at on your AI risk governance journey, we have solutions to help, whether you're researching and want to understand the latest requirements or regulatory activity, wanting to easily identify and assess AI risk, or understand your AI governance posture from an organizational level, and then have that effective, simple way to communicate that responsible AI practices are in place. And that's where we can help. Hey, Kristen, what are some of the common approaches you're seeing companies take to build out their AI risk governance?
Yeah, and I think, to your point before, it really depends on the company. We can really meet you wherever you are in your risk journey and where your company is with building AI risk and compliance into your overall program. I've seen, a number of customers who are really interested in kicking off a questionnaire as quickly as possible so they can start to understand the risk that some vendors they are working with pose on their organization, while others are still in the phase where they're determining what are these AI regulations all about and how do they apply to their organization, and they're looking for actionable insights that they can bring back to their organization as they craft their privacy program. So I think it really depends on the organization, but TrustArc offers end-to-end solutions to meet our customers no matter where they are in their journey.
Yeah,
Kristen,
and
oh,
Kristen, one of our member of our audience, asked, are you seeing companies still relying on the privacy office to manage AI governance? And then kind of more broadly, data governance? Or is there a trend that, you're seeing companies separate their governance program with AI governance as a subset outside the privacy office?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. I only have anecdotal evidence to speak off of from what I've talked to customers about. But what I'm starting to see and hear is that within the privacy department, organizations are starting to create a specific AI privacy manager or role that solely focuses on AI risk compliance. And I think I have a few reasons why I think this is, but one, I think like in shaping your program to adhere to the new laws and regulations that are coming out, that's one task and challenge that our customers are facing. But then there's also the learning curve of understanding AI on its own. And that person might need to be a little bit more tech savvy or understand how the tech works so that when they speak to third parties or vendors, they can ask the right questions to gauge the risk, that leveraging that third party has on their privacy program. So, just recently, I've seen some new roles in the privacy space pop up that are specific to AI, but I think it'll probably depend on the size of the organization and how they structure their team. But it is a trend that I'm starting to see a little bit more often.